Take back your soul. This is another transmission from Mahadeva here at ThunderWizard.com headquarters, where you find the world's only unified spiritual energy system at ThunderWizard.com. Get ready, because here I come. Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. And what I want you to meditate on throughout the lecture and the question and answer today, I want you to meditate on the reality that the only thing that you have is this moment. You have nothing else. You don't have the past. You don't have the future. You only have this moment. And that will always be the truth. When you're out of this body, that will be the truth. Whether you're in this life, whether you're sleeping, dreaming, whether you're in the nexus of all timelines with Mahadeva, the Ascended Master, you will have nothing but this moment right now. It's the only thing that you have. So, what is the title? What did I say? Something along the lines of The Secret Trick to Get Ascended Masters. Let me see what the exact title is. The Secret Trick to Get Ascended Masters to Speak to You works every time. It's a secret trick only because you haven't learned it yet. But a lot of people have. You probably learned it in previous lifetimes. You've just forgotten because you're wrapped up in this life that you're in now. But there is something that you can do to get the Ascended Masters to speak to you. And it works every time. And that has to do with learning how to ask questions. And learning how to ask the right questions. So there's nothing wrong with a feeling. Doesn't matter what feeling you have. There's no such thing as a wrong feeling. There is only what you do. It's really that's it. What determines so much is what you do. And if you don't like what you perceive to be your essence, you can change that. You aren't going to change that through what you think. You're not going to change that by trying to change your feelings. You're going to only be able to change what you perceive to be your essence. I use my words very carefully. What you perceive to be your essence if you're unhappy with yourself. You're not going to be able to change that with changing your feelings or changing your thoughts. And I know that's what you've been told. And it just dawned on me this second that the reason why that is so popular, change your thoughts, change your life. You've heard that before. You hear it from the secret crowd, the law of attraction crowd. What they will tell you is that if you change your feelings, that will change your reality. If you can control your thoughts, you'll be able to think into reality what you want. And what I just realized sitting here is that both of those things have to do with you feeling as though you are in control. And I've got news for you. The way to control everything is to surrender. The way to have power is to be powerless. I keep showing this, which is Dr. Manhattan. And if you ever watched The Watchmen, listen to what I'm saying now. I don't know that he talks this way, but especially the actor in this movie, not the guy in the I watched a little bit of the TV show, and I wasn't thrilled with that actor. He wasn't a very good actor. But the guy who plays Dr. Manhattan in the movie, I thought did a really good job. And he has this, Dr. Manhattan has this feeling of he is just simply in the moment, that he's not controlling anything, that he's in the moment flowing with the energy that's going through him. And so if you want the power to create your perfect life, if you want the power to change what you perceive to be your essence that you don't like, if you want to have the power to continuously evolve spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, then you're going to have to learn how to ask the right questions. So I did a channeling of Mahadeva earlier today, and I uploaded it. And I have to tell you that even though during the channeling I'm aware of what I'm doing, it is, I am, I'm not possessed by something. But I rarely remember what I said afterwards. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that I will upload that I probably won't listen to again just because I'm too busy doing other stuff. But every now and then I go back and I try and listen. What was the focus of that? What was going on there? And I was reminded of this, that you only have this moment. And that you can, in every single nanosecond, change who you are. You can choose to change who you are based on the actions that you take. And this has a lot to do with having a continuous communion with your higher self. And when you can have that continuous communion with your higher self, then on a verbal or nonverbal or even on an unconscious level, you can be asking the right questions. And the right questions to ask have to do with how you can change yourself in this moment. That's it. If you try to ask the Ascended Masters things about the future, unless that has something to do with you changing yourself at this moment, you probably won't get an answer. I can't speak for everybody else. Mahadeva won't answer me. If I try and ask him anything other than what I can do to improve my vibrational essence in this moment and the actions I can take to do that, I usually don't get an answer. So that's why it's really good to learn how to ask me questions that I like to answer, because this is practice. Now, I'm not an Ascended Master yet, but I am focused on only one thing with you, and that is I want to do whatever I can to help you achieve self-empowerment. I want you to be able to determine within yourself what your state of being is and what you have in your life. I want you to be able to make the decisions on what choices you make towards what you want in life. It's all I care about. I do get cranky when people don't ask me the right question. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people, if they're not my student, they don't know that. They don't know that there's a certain way, certain questions to ask and how to ask a question. They don't know that. And somebody asked me what I thought was just an absolutely ridiculous question. And of course, I eviscerated them in the comments. And without getting into the specifics of it, because after the fact, I'm like, why did I even bother responding to that? Because that person had no idea. That person had no idea that they were being passive aggressive, that they were virtue signaling, that that they're operating from their negative self-criticism about themselves. Because this is the thing: your questions are always a reflection on your interaction with yourself. Your projection is a reflection on your interaction with yourself. So I don't respond well, as you know, to superficial questions. I hate small talk. I absolutely detest it. And I felt bad about that until I actually read something about something in my chart having to do with my third house. And, I think it was the placement of Mars or something in my third house. And it said, these people hate small talk. And it's true. I can't stand it. But then they went on to say, even though that's the glue that holds society together. So let's think about that for a moment. The glue that holds society together. Right now, the glue that is holding society together is virtue signaling the mainstream narrative about things I can't talk about. So the glue that holds society together, when in general, is a good thing because we function better as a group, because we are social animals. But when the glue that is holding you together is actually distracting you from the truth and distracting you from yourself, then it is not a good thing. It is a bad thing. The glue that holds society together. So, if you're like me and you have Mars in the third house, then your job is to constantly challenge the ineffective, destructive glue that is holding society together, if in fact that is what is going on. I'm the kind of guy, when I go to the grocery store, they don't do it all the time. That I remembered it more in California. When I went to Australia, my experience was that people actually were, real with me. If I went to the grocery store and somebody asked me a question, how are you doing? I got the sense that they were real. I didn't get the sense that they were just placating me or just doing what they were told, because somebody said always ask them questions about themselves. But in Los Angeles especially, and maybe it was Los Angeles, I would go into the grocery store, at Whole Foods especially, someplace like Whole Foods, and then they would go, hey, brah, what's up? And I'd be like to myself, dude, I don't even know you. You don't have the right to talk to me like that. I'm sir. You ask me, sir. That's how I want to be treated by somebody who's clocking my food and putting it into a bag. And then they'd say, hey, did you watch the game last night? As if they gave a crap about what I do, if I'm watching some game. And I know it's because they've been trained to do that. That somebody trains them to try and make the customer feel important, and so pretend you're their friend. And the assumption is that everybody is just so incredibly lonely that any kind word, I can't stand it. I just want to go, stop pretending you give a crap about me and just ring my food up and stop talking to me. Because I can't stand, it feels disrespectful. It feels presumptuous. And it feels disrespectful. So I don't like it. So when people come onto the channel for the first time, they ask me lots of times questions that push my buttons the wrong way, and it's not their fault. They don't know any better. They're asking a question just like when you go to, you sit at a bar, which I don't do. But when you go sitting at a bar, people want to ask you stupid questions about, superficial nonsense garbage because they can't stand being by themselves and they assume that you can. Anyway, I could go on and on about that, but I won't. But the point is that if somebody asks me the right question, I get very excited in a good way. And I really want to delve into the answer of that question. Because when they ask me the right questions, it's because they are on the verge of learning something about themselves that will improve their lives and help their spiritual evolution. And that is the only thing I care about. To my detriment. It's the only thing I care about. If I were smart, I would be doing other things and perhaps making millions of dollars off of YouTube. But I can't live with myself if I don't feel like I'm being authentic. So I can't tolerate it if I don't think you're at least doing everything in your power to be authentic with me. So I want you to think about being authentic in every moment with yourself. I want you to think about the idea that the only thing you have is this moment right now. And in this moment, where are you putting your energy? Where are you expending your energy? Are you expending your energy in thinking about the past? What somebody did to you or didn't do? What the love that got away? Are you thinking about the future? About all the stuff you're going to get in the future that you don't have now? Are you thinking about all the people that have the things that you want that you don't have? Are you thinking about anything other than the quality of your experience with yourself in this moment? Now, what if you don't have a high quality experience of yourself? What if your experience of yourself is that you beat yourself up? It's understandable you're going to want to get away from that experience. But the truth is, the only thing you have is your immediate experience of yourself. And when you die, that is what will go with you. Having an immediate experience with yourself. So when you want to get answers from your spiritual guides, the ascended masters, however you want to look at it, you want to ask questions that give you the ability to change your experience of this moment. Because that's all you have. And that's all that we are destined for that. Our destiny, I don't know when or how long or how many different dimensions you want to incarnate in or experiences, and feel free to have as many as you want. But the ultimate end of all of that is to just be in the eternal now with yourself. And the lesson of, at least one of the lessons of incarnated life, is to learn with all of the stuff going on around you, all of your feelings and all of your thoughts and all of the stimulus that's happening to you, with all that stuff, all of your instincts and all of your impulses, with all that stuff happening, learning how to have all those experiences and still be authentically aware of this moment with yourself. And the irony is if you can learn how to do that, then you will be able, like Dr. Manhattan, to control your environment. What my teachers first told me when I started practicing the spirit fighting is they said, strength is no strength. And I didn't know what the hell that meant. Now I know what it means. You go from nothing to something back to nothing again, which is that state right there. Dr. Manhattan is in the state of nothing. And in that state of nothing, he can manipulate matter. And Carlos Castaneda says reportedly that Don Juan said to him, if I can remember the quote, that when you surrender, something like this, I'm using my words, when you surrender to the universe, it surrenders to you. And so you end up looking like you have magical control, when in reality, you are in complete surrender to it. And of course, the only way that I know how to achieve those states is by working with life force energy. And that's why I teach you all that stuff, so that you can have that. Now, if you can do that without doing energy work, then great, good for you. I feel pretty certain you won't be able to do it by trying to control or change your feelings. And I feel pretty certain you won't be able to do it by controlling or changing your thoughts. So I want you to think about living in this moment. So time is an illusion. There is no past, there is no future. There is only the present moment. And the present moment, imagine you're on a train. You're sitting on a train and the train is going down the track. And as the train is going down the track, imagine that actually it's an illusion that the train is moving forward. What's really happening is that the train's wheels start to move on the tracks, and as the train's wheels move, it starts pushing the earth underneath it. Or excuse me, this way, it starts pushing the earth underneath it. And so you have this feeling that you're going somewhere, when in reality what's happening is the wheels are making the earth move underneath your train. Okay, so you got that? That's not, maybe that's not how things actually work, but I want you to have that feeling. I want you to imagine that, because that's what it looks like, right? When you're sitting, if you're sitting in a train, you're not moving, you're not going anywhere, but the stuff that you see out the window is flying right past you. It's going really fast. It's going in the opposite direction. The earth is going really fast underneath you, but you're not moving, you're just sitting there. You're on a track, and the mountain is coming towards you, or the tunnel is coming towards the train, but you're not moving at all. So you have this experience as you sit and you look out the window and you see the trees going by and you see the forest, and then you see off in the distance a mountain range, and the mountain range comes up and it slowly goes past you. And then you go into a tunnel and everything is dark, and then you come out the other side and it's a different landscape and it's a desert. Who knows what. That your experience as you look out the window is that things are changing around you, outside of you all the time. But you sitting here with your cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is, and that doesn't change. Your clothes are still the same. Everything is the same for you in this moment, but the external world going past you is changing as it flies past you. And I want you to think of that. But instead of the trees and the mountains going past you, you have different feelings. You feel angry, you feel happy, you feel sad, you feel lonely, you have an interaction with somebody, you get older, the sun goes up, the sun goes down. You have all these experiences that are seemingly happening to you. And these experiences give you the perception that time is moving and that you are moving through time. But what I want you to be thinking about is that in every single moment, you can be choosing how you want to view what's going on outside. And in every single moment, even with all of your uncomfortable feelings, because again, the reason people seek out spirituality is because they want to change. They're not happy. Most deeply spiritual seekers are people who are trying to escape tremendous pain and difficulty. So I know that there's a lot of you listening to me who have that, and I want you to be honest about that. Because if you can't get honest about your experience with life without indulging in victim mentality, if you can't get honest, then you can't change your experience. You have to start by being honest. And that means you accept yourself with all of your thoughts and all of your feelings. Just as you're in the train, you accept that the mountains are going past you, the trees are going past you. All those things are going past you. You accept that. And it'll change. If you're in a lot of pain, you probably feel like you'll always feel this way. Things are bad now, they always will be. And what's interesting is that when you feel really good, you go, oh my God, yeah, life used to be really crappy, but now things are really good and they always will be. But just like looking out the window of the train, the scenery is going to change. That is the one thing you can be guaranteed of. As the wheels of your train pull the earth underneath you, your terrain will change. Your experience will change, and it's superficial. But we make permanent decisions based on superficial changes. You know, one of the cheesiest but most true things I've ever heard is that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And every single person that I've researched who survived a suicide attempt, you know, people trying to blow their brains out or jumping off of bridges, that the nanosecond that they've gone beyond, like they've gone too far and there's no coming back, like they step off the bridge, and when the toe, if they step off with their right foot, the big toe of the left foot, just as soon as it leaves the bridge, they have this flood of awareness of, oh my God, I could totally have changed everything, and that's what they're thinking about as they're falling to their death. People pull the trigger and blow their brains out and they happen to miss, or it doesn't kill them. The moment that split second that you hear the click and there's no going back, they are filled with the awareness of, oh no, I could totally have fixed all of those problems. And so the ability to know that is the ability to know that you can change the choices that you make in every single moment. So before I open it back up to questions and answers, I'm going to once again go over the law of weird. Because when you understand the law of weird, you see that it teaches you this. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, we have a word in English called weird. I think it's spelled W-I-E-R-D or W-E-I-R-D. I always get that mixed up. And we think that the word weird means strange or different or spooky or something like that. Odd, out of the ordinary. But the word weird was actually the most powerful spiritual law in the universe. And so today, if something happens, even if it's spooky, people will go, ooh, that's weird. But our ancestors, if they spoke English like we do now, they would have said the same thing. If something momentous or something happened that gave them the feeling that something spiritual is going on, they would go, ooh, that's weird. That's the law of weird. Weird represents your perception of time. So it is the law of weird is space-time, because weird is woven by three threads being woven together by three giantesses. Now, giantesses, you cannot worship or communicate with the giants. I'm sorry, but you can't. They are forces, and they don't care about you. But the giantesses weave each thread together, and the weaving of those three threads creates our four-dimensional reality. And those threads are your perception of the past, the present, and the future. And the past means origins. That's the name of the word for the past was origins. Origins has to do with your identity. What is his origins? What was he like as a kid? Your belief that in the past you have these unchangeable origins that make you the way that you are now. And I know a lot of people listening to me, they had dysfunctional childhoods where they weren't treated the way that a child should be treated, or they had negative circumstances that were less than ideal. And your origin story is that, oh yeah, my parents did this to me, or I was born this way, or I was born in this third world country, and those are my origins. Once you buy into that, now your origin has been created. But you do it in the present. It's the present moment where you say, I grew up, my origins are, and when you do that in the present moment and you lock into what you say your origins are, you immediately create your future that must be fulfilled. Because the present moment is called now. It is called immediacy. In a translation of the Norse word for the present moment is immediate. Right now. And that's what's happening. You have immediacy that's continuously happening every moment. And in that moment, each nanosecond, you are reaffirming. You are saying, it's like the universe is coming to you and asking you every nanosecond, okay, so your story that you told us was that you were abused and you're poor and you're miserable and life isn't fair to you. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. You're continuously reaffirming it. And every time you reaffirm it, you then start paving away your future. So imagine those tracks underneath your train again. So the tracks underneath your train were laid in this present moment when you say, that's what I used to be. And that's what makes me what I am now. Oh, you don't understand. If you've been through what I've been through, you'd feel the same way. Other people have it easier because they had different things than me. So things are easier and better for them than it is for me. And every time you do that, you lay a track which goes in a specific direction, and that's going to take you to a specific destination. Because the word for the future is debt, D-E-B-T, debt, that which you owe. So every time that you solidify your origin story in the present moment, you then create a debt that you have to pay in the future. Somebody asked me the question yesterday on the live stream, why do I keep manifesting things I don't want? It's because you keep repeating to yourself an origin story that determines your thoughts and your actions in the present moment. So if you want to change your thoughts, which by the way, I don't think people can do. I mean, you have a tiny bit of control over where you can indulge in what to think about. But really, you don't have any control over your thoughts or your feelings. You have almost no control over them. Sorry, get used to it. Your thoughts and your feelings arise from your reaction to your own origin story that you keep writing. You keep reaffirming, yeah, my parents did this, and this happened to me, and those things did that, and that's why I'm this way. You keep reaffirming that, which keeps creating your origin story, which then creates feelings in you. Your feelings don't come out of nowhere. Your feelings are responses to stimulus. Your thoughts don't come out of nowhere. Your thoughts come from your intellect trying to process your origin story. And it's trying to process your origin story with the intent of how can I use that information to create a future. And so when you affirm your origin story, you create a future that you have to live through, and that is your debt. What the Hindus call karma, which is and the thing about karma is that it's not a destiny that is inescapable. No, your karma is the result of your works. The word karma means arms, what you do with your physical arms. That's why Kali, the goddess of karma, Kali is wearing a skirt of severed human arms. If you've ever seen pictures of her. She's naked, her tongue is hanging out, and there's blood coming out of her mouth. And she has a garland of skulls around her neck, and she has a skirt woven together made of severed human arms. And all of those things symbolize the actions that you choose to take, which creates the future you must live out. But if you want to change the future that you must live out, then change your origin story. Or at least learn how to not react to it, how to not let it control you. And this is what all spirituality is about. And so if you want to ask me questions that make me happy, you can ask me questions about what you can do in this moment to change your experience. If you want to ask me questions about the practices and how you can do a specific practice and, ways to do that, that will be great. Even if you ask, where do I put my hands for that, the whole breath, or how do I do you're still asking me how to do a practice that gives you the power to change your origin story and change the future that you must live out. I lied. I said I was going to stop with weird and then open it up for questions. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about Huna a little bit. So the Huna religion is the Hawaiian shamanic religion, as far as I know. I didn't learn it from anybody. I only know it from reading books and stuff like that. But based on what I've read in the Huna religion, they also, like the Norse, believe that there were three selves. The Norse believe that Odin, which is representative of the spiritually advanced human, Odin is made up of three beings: Odin, Vili, and Ve. Shamanic awareness, willpower, and spirit. And so they believed that as well. But they believed that when you change your intention, like in other words, when you have an intention for your reality, you create an intention, and what happens is that the beings, the dwarves, for example, I'm using Norse mythology to answer the question, but the dwarves go out and they start building your reality. They start, hammer and nail and they start building your house that you're going to live in. But if you change your origin story, if you change your intention about where you're going and who you are, then the house that you're living in now has to come crashing down on your head, because they're building the roof, in front of you. As you're coming into your house, they're building it right here, and then you're going to come into it. And so when you change your intention, they have to then deconstruct the future that you wanted to create for yourself. And so they say if you want to change your reality, your current reality has to come crashing down on your head. Meaning like the walls and the roof comes crashing down. So think about that, those of you who are doing the practice and you're running into resistance. Some of you are doing the work. You're working your tail off and you're doing all of these practices that I teach, and you're following your soul desire, and you're running into a lot of really uncomfortable feelings. A lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of pain, a lot of sadness, a lot of confusion. And the way to think about that is, this is great, because now I've changed my intention, and guess what's happening? The roof is crashing in over my head, which means that they're deconstructing the crappy future that you were building for yourself because of your origin story. And by changing your relationship to your origin, your past, you then, all the workers have to scramble to then go in another direction. So it's like, when you're on the train and the train switches tracks, you're switching on another track, on another timeline. So think about that. When you do all this work, I want you to stick with it. But the main reason why people end up leaving me and leaving this work is because they can't tolerate the resistance that comes up, because the roof is crashing in on their head. They can't tolerate it. So they go back to what they know. And I sometimes never see them again. I sometimes see them again, but lots of times I don't. I don't want that to happen to you. I don't care whether you work with me or don't work with me. I only give a crap if you're happy and successful. All right, so now I can open it up for questions. This is a question and answer, which means I want to see your questions. If you have a question, you write the word question in all caps and then write your actual question in normal script. Why? Because I want to see it. I may not see it if you don't do that. So please, for your benefit, follow my request, and I will be better able to serve you. Thundra Staves Rangel, here he comes. Good evening, Mahadeva. You need to go and check out her website, thundra.thunderwizard.com. Very powerful, lightning goddess herself, as well as a Vedic astrologer and a bunch of other things, and a radio personality. She's got a website you should check out. By the way, if you want me to promote you, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com. And if you pass the very simple test, I will certify you as an astrologer and or rune reader. And then I'll give you joeschmo.thunderwizard.com website, and I will promote you if you come on and say hello. Forgive me, I passed by vincent.thunderwizard.com. He is also one of my astrologers, and he is a Gebo the shaman in his own right. He's got a bunch of stuff that he does as well. You should check out his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com. All right. Mr. One Wobbly, what did I say about all caps? I can't see it normally if you don't do that. I do, 60% of the time I'll see it, but it's that one time that you really wanted me to see the question, I'll miss it if you don't put it in all caps. Mr. Wobbly says, honest feeling, what a great surprise to see your live link pop up. Bless. Well, I'm happy that makes you happy. Thank you. Mr. One Wobbly, question, do you think my life could be a reality show? I have no idea. I don't know you. I think I signed a Faustian pact the day the Masons Men in Black told me it was one. So, Mr. Wobbly, are you being cute? Are you being funny? I appreciate that, but we're not sitting at a bar having a beer together, and I don't need you to say anything cute and funny. I really want an honest question. Doesn't feel like an honest question. Feels like the kind of thing somebody does when they feel a little insecure and they're at the bar and they want to make conversation with somebody. I appreciate it, but we don't need to do that here. We can bypass all of that. And if you have an actual question for me, I really want to answer it for you. Having said that, thank you and welcome to the live stream. Mr. Wobbly, feeling. 12 psych wards in, know that I am fragile. Much love. Hope my question was okay. 12 I'm not following what you're saying. 12 psych wards in. Know that I am fragile. Okay, so I know that you're fragile. Here's the best way to deal with that. If you're fragile, the feeling I get is that you're wanting to connect with me out of your insecurity. You feel insecure, and so you're wanting to connect. So you come up with a cute, superficial question, right? And then you tell me, don't hurt my feelings, I'm fragile. Here's a way to avoid all that. Don't ask a question until it's a real question about what I'm teaching or what I'm talking about. Listen. Be okay that I don't notice you. Be okay with yourself in this moment. When the impulse in you arises to do or say something so that I will notice you because you don't like feeling alone or whatever it is, just don't say anything. I'm not telling you to shut up. I'm saying learn how to communicate from your strength and give value to what you say. Give value to your interaction with others. Come from your own value. Asking superficial, cute questions out of your insecurity doesn't come from that. And that's okay in the right thing. But again, you're in my classroom. So when you're in my classroom, I want to hear you ask me questions about the subject matter. I want to hear that you did the homework, that you read the material. And then you have a question. In the book such and such on page blah, 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 it says this. Mahadeva, can you explain that? But in the middle of class, they go, hey, what's going on? You been surfing lately, teach? I'm going to be like, we're not talking about that right now. All right, what else? Mr. One Wobble, okay, that's not a question. Again, feeling is in all caps again. It's the same idea. So the two most, Mr. One Wobbly, I would first, here's my first suggestion for you. Change your name. Because by calling yourself Mr. One Wobbly, you are wobbly. That is my experience of you. You are not secure in yourself. You're wobbly. Change that. Give yourself a name that makes you feel powerful. And the other thing is learn how not to speak. Learn how to keep your power in your silence. Because again, I'm only interested in your questions, not the rest of it. Agent of the Universe, question. I have the funds to purchase 90-day challenge. Should I wait until the first of the month? Yes. Because what is it? It is now March 26th. If you want, so bear in mind, Agent of the Universe, it's not you're purchasing it one time. I mean, you can if you want, but it's a subscription. And it's a cheap subscription. So I know your situation, so money is not easy to come by, but it's a very inexpensive monthly subscription. And so the idea is that you're going to be it's going to renew every month. And that's the idea. So is that what you mean, that you have the ability to subscribe? Because purchasing it, if you haven't enough money to quote purchase 1 month, you might be better off purchasing one of the other video things on the courses.thunderwizard.com, and then you'll have that, and then you'll have the course and you can follow it. So but if you decided to subscribe now, because it is the 26th, if you subscribe today, then what will happen is after the 1st, you email me through the Patreon site and say, hey, it's me, and you said that you'd refund me this month if I signed up at the end of the month. So anybody listening, if you want to go and subscribe now, subscribe at the end of the month, as long as it's a week or less before the end of the month, say, hey, I subscribed, here's the date I subscribed, and if that jives with the records, I will refund you that month. But we'll wait until after it, goes through the cycle and charges you again at the first of the month. So decide what you want to do, Agent of the Universe. That's my answer to your question. Trillion Phoenix. Trillion Phoenix, why do I have this feeling that you said something in one of the comments that pissed me off? Is that you? Quest plus Ion. I guess that's kind of cute. Trillion Phoenix, have I said anything today about ball lightning orbs? If you can find where I have in my entire channel, I invite you to go and watch all 1,000 videos on my channel. And in this lesson, if you can find where I have talked about giving an opinion or an understanding of ball lightning orbs, I will be happy to answer that question. So I'll wait to hear back from you. Poke off that it's not a serious question, so I'm not going to answer that. Actually, I am going to answer that. So your question, first off, you're not following my request, which is to write the word question so that I see it. The second one is to ask an honest question about how you can change your reality. You're not doing that. I do get the sense that your question is passive aggressive. You're trying to devalue and project your insecurity about yourself onto me. That's the way it's coming across. But I am going to answer that question. You say, why aren't you changing the world? Is the Ascended Masters are talking to you? You mean if. You meant to say if the Ascended Masters are talking to you. You can put a question mark at the end so that we know that it's a question as opposed to a statement. That's what we do in English class. We learn that. So you say, why aren't you changing the world if the Ascended Masters are talking to you? First off, again, in today's lecture, tell me where I said anything about changing the world. Now, did you get the feeling that I said the Ascended Masters are going to help you change the world? Did I ever say that anywhere? If I did, please let me know so that I know the context. So, what question can you ask me about how you can change your experience right now? To answer your question, I am changing my world all the time. And I've said it over and over again, but the way that my life has worked is that there's a lot of garbage going on, a lot of really crappy stuff going on in the, our shared experience of this world. But none of it touches me. I never have any issues. My soul and the experiences around me always guide me into an experience, a world where my world is good and fun and beautiful. And if anything really nasty was going to come to this part of the world, I guarantee you that without knowing the future, my insides would tell me it's time for me to do this now. And I would pick up and go somewhere and continue to be in bliss while all kinds of hell came down here. So it's not my job to change the world, nor is it your job to change the world. The negative things going on in the world are the result of other people's choices, other people's actions to their experience in that moment. They are responsible for that. And other people who are operating from that same level of insecurity and fear will be pulled into that, or will be drawn to that, or will experience that. I'm not experiencing, whatever you say, changing the world, whatever it is you think that the world externally needs to be changed, is not only is it not part of my internal reality, it's not part of my external reality. So, welcome to the channel, Pokop. And if that was an honest question, thank you. If it was a passive-aggressive swipe at me, then I invite you to spend more time on the channel, listen to what I say, and apply it. Do the work. By the way, I can always tell if somebody's doing the work. I can always tell. I can tell by your question if you're serious about doing any of these things, whether it's the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, or whether it's the free Awakening the Immortals Qigong, or the Heaven Earth Qigong meditation, or any of the other hundreds of energy practices and meditations that I give away for free on this YouTube channel. I can always tell if you're doing it. Because that question that you just asked, why aren't you changing the world? That question, the assumption behind that question is that this is coming from your experience. What I now know about you is that you feel as though the world is doing it to you. That the world is bad, that the world needs to be changed. And so you believe if you had power, you would be able to change other people. You would be able to climb inside other people's heads and change the feelings that they have and change their choices. You would, like a puppeteer, make them do different things than they're doing. And that all comes from, as I talked about in the beginning, the need for control. I have no need to control what anybody does. The only control I have is what I do in this moment, which creates my reality, which creates my immediate manifestation. And my immediate manifestation is extremely peaceful. So, I answered that question even though normally I wouldn't answer a question like that. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Question. How do I process anger about what they did to me while simultaneously building an internal locus of control? Well, Vincent, when did I ever say that you had to process anything? Is that a word that I use? How do I process anger sounds a lot like how do I change my feelings? And I never say it's not your job to change how you feel. The only thing that matters is what you do. So you can choose to act on that anger, which means that you'll act out of your fear, your insecurity, your anger about what they did to me. So you can act on that, which would actually, if you acted on that feeling of what they did to you, the first thing you would do is you would take on an attitude of victimization. You would feel like a victim. That's the first action that you would take, is the belief that you are a victim. Beliefs are choices, by the way. We're not talking about, I believe that this light remote is here. No, that's true. That's a fact. I do believe that. When we talk about things like I believe in this and I believe in that and I believe God exists or I believe in aliens, these are choices. So if you believe that you have been victimized in the past by what your parents, quote, did to you, that is a choice. Another way to look at it is while you are having your very real feelings of being angry because they didn't treat you the way you wanted or deserved, while you are having those feelings, you can choose to believe that they really were doing the best they could with the tools that they had. Or they were damaging themselves with their inability to love me and treat me the way that, all kids should be treated. Those are also choices, and you can have those beliefs while still being angry. But it's a different belief. Choosing to believe they treated me that way because I deserve it. They treated me that way because I have bad karma. They treated me that way because whatever. I'm no good, and if I keep thinking this way, someday my mom will love me. Someday dad will approve of me. Those are all choices to keep choosing to believe that way. Even though it's virtually impossible for you to have responded differently. Way back when you were 3 years old and 4 years old and mom gave you the feeling that your job was to make her feel better, that your worth came from making her feel good, that was a choice. You chose to believe that. You could have chosen to do something different. It would have been very difficult, but you could have chosen a different understanding. I remember being 4 years old. I made a lot of the same mistakes that I just, hypothetically. I have no idea if that's what you did, Vincent. I'm making a hypothetical. I made a lot of those things that I just said. But I remember once being 4 years old and coming to the realization that I was never going to die. Not that I wasn't physically going to die. I wasn't thinking about my body. I was 4 years old. I was connecting to my essence, my consciousness, and I was seeing and feeling and aware, and I realized I was never going to die, meaning that my consciousness would never cease. Even if you pulled me out of my body, my consciousness would exist, and I knew that. And I began to make choices based on that belief. So you can choose to change the way you see yourself. You can choose to change the way you believe. And even if you don't believe, let's say, for example, I say, Vincent, what you should do, I'm not saying this, but if I did, what you should do, Vincent, is that you should just believe that you are the most beautiful, wonderful, loving, powerful, confident being in the universe. And even if you don't feel that, you can choose to believe that. And then you can choose to take actions as though you were. So let's say you don't feel like that, but you have to go ask that girl out, or start that new business, or go apply for a job, or an apartment, or who knows what. And in order to do that, you have to act differently than you feel. So you say, what would that guy who was really confident and loved himself and could do anything he wanted and felt really optimistic, what action would he take? Oh, he would ask the girl out, and then he would go and put the deposit not on the crappy apartment, but the really good one. And he would, I don't want to do that, but that's what he would do. So you now know, based on what you're doing, there's a thing called act as if. So how do you process your anger? I never said you're supposed to process it. You're not supposed to change anything. Feelings are, you're in the train and you're going past the forest. That's the feeling. It's going past you. It's going to change into something else. How do you process? I just saw the forest go past. How do I process that? You don't. You just look at it and you watch it go by. How do you process your anger? Acknowledge that you have it and take actions based on love. Love is not a feeling. You can be full of murderous rage and still act with love. Love says, I'm going to take action towards somebody else without any thought of what it's going to give me. And I'm going to do it knowing to the best of my ability what will be helpful to them. None of that has anything to do with how you feel. So you realize, I'm beating a dead horse here, you realize that all of your questions, I saw some of your other questions, all of your questions are really focused on how you feel, and you want me to help you change the way you feel. And the only thing that's going to change the way you feel is what you do consistently. If you keep taking consistent action towards your soul, towards consciousness, out of love. You don't know what love is? Think about what, I don't feel loving right now, but the loving action is this. If you keep doing that and get in the habit of doing that, what ends up happening is that those feelings, just like the forest going by, changes into something else. Right now, I encourage you not to try and get away from this anger. You're trying to get rid of it. Just have it. I've given you so many suggestions on how to talk to your younger self and all that. And it's okay. I will keep repeating myself because I know that these feelings don't go away. And just because I tell you it's okay to have those feelings, you wake up tomorrow, it's not okay. You want to get rid of them. I understand that. It takes a while. It takes time. But the answer is always going to be the same. But you can keep asking me. I'll keep telling. What else? Yeah, that's not a question. Trillion Phoenix, if you have an honest question, I'll answer it. Vincent.thunderwizard.com question. At what point do we have internal control over our lives? Are you really trying to figure out at what point I have control over my life, or Betty Jones down the street? Or are you asking me when you want me to predict when you're going to have a perception of being able to control your life? I don't know. That's for you to experience. I don't have that psychic prediction. All I know is all you have right now is this moment. And if you learn how to be in this moment, unconditionally, accepting all of your negative feelings or positive feelings without trying to change anything, and asking the universe, what actions should I take? If you keep doing that, you in that moment will have control over your internal life. What you really want is you want me to tell you, when are you going to be able to control your emotions? And that, unfortunately, isn't something I'm going to be able to teach you. But I will tell you that if you keep doing the work and you're disciplined, that eventually the feelings will change because you will respond differently to stimuli. You will create different futures for yourself, which you will respond positively to. But it all comes down to the actions. And there's nothing about that that has anything to do with processing or controlling anything, because you can't control anything. Sorry. The only thing you have the slightest bit of control over is the actions that you choose to take and the attitudes that you choose to adopt. Those things you have some control over. You have no control over anything else, especially other people. What else? Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Oh, yeah, I already answered that. So feeling, he says, I feel helpless. That's because you are. Like I don't have permission to have control. Well, having permission to have control and the ability to have control are two different things. But the fact that it's been introduced in your mind that you're supposed to have control, where did that come from? That's an assumption. The assumption is that you should have control. Where did that come from? I've never said that. So somebody told you that. Somebody told you that in order to be a good person, you need to be able to control. Control your feelings. Control my feelings. You need to have all this control. And the truth is, you're not supposed to control anything. The way to have the power of Dr. Manhattan, look at that, him right there. Do you think he has any control? He has no control over what's happening. And the surrender that he went through gave him the experience of this. We say, oh, look at how much control he has. He's levitating. And he'll say, no, I'm not controlling anything. I am completely, totally in the flow of life force energy, which you perceive me as floating. And I'm not. I'm just flowing with the universe. And if you want that, you have to do the work to get rid of your origin story and your reaction to your fake origin story. And then you can be like Dr. Manhattan. I mean, when you hear about Dr. Manhattan, he talks about, not having a human past and he's a great symbol. It represents somebody who has let go of the attachment. I'm supposed to be this. I need to be that. I was watching, I don't know if you guys know about the Hafthor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall boxing match. These guys are two strong men who have alternated, both of them, between being the strongest man in the world, in those competitions. There's probably people that are stronger than them, but in terms of the competitions in the world, these two guys have been the strongest. And so they've had this rivalry because Eddie Hall has a really thin skin and he's really insecure, and Hafthor Bjornsson has broken his record a couple times, and he gets really bent out of shape, so he picks a fight with him, and then they have this boxing match, and then of course Hafthor Bjornsson beat him, and now he owes all this money, and it's easy for me to look at it and go, dude, just stop reacting. But he's got this chip on his shoulder because he thinks everybody's out to make him look bad, even though he's already accomplished world record strength competitions. He's at the top. He's the strongest man in the world. And it's not enough for him. Something in his origin story tells him he's not good enough. And you're thinking you don't respect me. I wish I could tell him to just calm down and appreciate what he's accomplished and all of his money and his success and all of that. But he hasn't asked for my help. So he is helpless. He is powerless over what Hafthor Bjornsson thinks of him. And no matter how many times he has a boxing match with Hafthor Bjornsson will be the one who chooses how he decides he feels about Eddie Hall. I think that's his name, Eddie Hall. All right. Trillion Phoenix, I'm this close to blocking you, man. I don't know why you're here. I don't appreciate your energy. We'll see. Give him a little more time. Thunderous Staves Rangel, honest feeling. I've had some issues this past week because of a winter storm we had. I'm upset and frustrated, but nowhere near what I would have experienced a few years ago. It is possible to go with the flow and just let it be in the meantime. I understand. I'm getting better at it too, and I'm learning too. Something like this years ago would have had me contemplating ending my life. Isn't that interesting? The actions that we would take over something that's totally out of our control. And something that will change. Because in 6 months, you'll be complaining about the heat. Anyway, is that it? I got nothing else. So, if there's no other questions, that'll be it for me today. As always, go to Warrior 90-Day Challenge and subscribe. And again, if you subscribe now, today's the 26th, as long as it's a week before the end of the month, let me know after the 1st, and I will refund you that week. Of course, wait till after the 1st, after you've been charged for that month. And if you want the most powerful energy practice on the planet, go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. This combined with this is that I can't give you anything more powerful than that. If you want to get an astrology reading from me or one of my apprentices, you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. And check out my new channel, which is Mahadeva Speaks. So you can look for that. I've got links here in the chat. You can go check it out. That's it for me. I will see you guys all very soon. And if you have any questions for me, you can leave any questions for me in any of the video comment sections. And if I'm stimulated by it in a good way, I will make a video about it. If you want to ask Mahadeva, the Ascended Master, questions about you can ask him wherever the hell you want. But my suggestion is to ask him something about how to change your experience in the moment. If you want to do that, you can go to Mahadeva Speaks on YouTube and leave a question for him in the video comment sections. And I will, if I like the question, I will do a channeled reading for that question. All right, that's it. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves. I will see you all very soon. Take back your soul. This is another transmission from Mahadeva here at ThunderWizard.com headquarters, where you find the world's only unified spiritual energy system at ThunderWizard.com. Get ready, because here I come.